Hi everyone. Uh, Continuing with our discussion on ecology. Mind you, this is our third discussion on this chapter. Within the unit of ecology, we are doing the topic of organisms and population. A very quick recap. We started our discussion with what is ecological hierarchy, right? Starts from an individual, progresses to a population, community, ecosystem, biome, and biosphere, right? Out of which we are discussing these two levels, organisms and population, in this particular chapter. Now, in the previous two discussions, we have discussed what are six different interorganismic relationships. See, ecology has been defined as the relationship between organisms. That is one part. So here on, we studied six different types of relationships, if you remember, and also the interaction between organisms and their environment. Now, this is what we have to look at it today. That how do organisms interact with their environment? See, as far as ecology is concerned, ecology involves, at these levels, you're going to study ecology. Obviously, in this chapter, we are catering to only organisms and population, not going beyond that. Now, ecology at the organismic level is essentially physiological ecology, right? Trying to understand how organisms get adapted to their environments, right? In terms of two aspects, in terms of survival, in terms of reproduction, obviously, for propagating their species, for continuity of life, right? Though these two terms are going to pop up in the chapter every now and then. Now, if we have to study the relationship of the organism and its surrounding, right, we need to understand a little bit of geography. Not trying to do anything new, but something what you've learned in geography in lower classes about the rotation of our planet around the sun and the tilt of its axis. These are two reasons which result into variations in intensity and duration of temperatures, obviously, and resulting into distinct seasons. Now, these variations put together with variations in precipitation, that is rain and snow. Now, these all factors result for formation of biomes. Remember our second last biological hierarchy, biosphere ke niche, biomes. Now, the biomes, right? Desert, grasslands, tropical forest, temperate forest, coniferous, the tundras, right? Now this is again a diagram taken from the NCERT where it's a graph where the annual temperatures on the y-axis are compared with the precipitation on the x-axis, right? So questions from these graphs, keep on coming in the exams where you can have these names removed and you could have labeled them as A, B, C, D, asking you to identify the biomes, right? Now, these biomes within themselves also can have regional and local variations, leading to formation of a wide variety of habitats within these biomes. Now, with respect to India, right, you can have a tropical rainforest, deciduous forest, desert, sea coast, and it's not only about formation of the easygoing habitats or biomes in India. You can have very harsh habitats also. The list is mentioned here, which are the harsh habitats, right? Difficult for life to survive there. Now, before we proceed into the discussion, right? very important for us to understand that when an organism is, making its place in the habitat, it's not only alone its interaction with the abiotic factors, right? Temperature hai, water hai, light, soil. Obviously, the organism is, having its own small battle with these kind of abiotic factors, but the organism is also interacting at the same time with certain organisms in its own habitat. It could be a pathogen to something, it could be a parasite, or it could be a host, it could be a predator or a prey, it could be a competitor to something, right? Now मतलब एक साथ वो दो बैटल फ्रंट पे लड़ रहा है, मतलब it is interacting with the biotic components, it is interacting with the abiotic components. Now this battle over a period of time helps the organism through natural selection. See, Darwin has come back to us again. Natural selection evolves adaptations, right? Now ये सब लड़ाई लड़ते लड़ते it will evolve adaptations so that its survival and reproduction in this particular habitat becomes convenient. देखो वापस आ गया survival and reproduction, right? So we, in this lecture, we have to assess, what is the effect of this abiotic factors on this particular organism. How does the organism respond to this, conditions of abiotic points? Now, in the new edition of the NCRT, they have made a small point about a topic called as niche, right? I'll try to divide this point and maybe try to explore this point in a little bit of detail. They say that each organism has an invariably defined range of conditions that it can tolerate. Fair, right? It will stay only in environment where it can tolerate that conditions. अगर tolerate नहीं करेगा तो निकल जाएगा वहां से. Fair. The diversity in the resources it utilizes. मतलब उसके पास सिर्फ एक ही resource नहीं होगा, right? उसके resources जो वो utilize कर रहा है, use कर रहा है, उसमें भी different types होंगे. And the organism has a distinct functional role in the ecological system. Right? I told you it can be a predator, it can be a prey, it can be a scavenger, it can be a decomposer. मतलब उसका उस ecological system में कोई functional role होगा. Right now, so in सब को accumulate करेंगे, तो what we'll say, it is a niche. Right? So we say niche is a specific part of habitat. Niche is within a habitat. Occupied by an individual species, मतलब एक niche में एक ही species. Number of organism नहीं, we are talking about पूरा species, which is circumscribed by its range of tolerance, range of movement, microclimate, conditions थोड़े change हो गए, type of food, देखो resources, availability, shelter, type of predator, role आ गया देखो, timing of activity. So all these conditions put together is called as niche. I know it's a little, थोड़ा topic to understand, थोड़ा सा हवा में है ये, right? Let me try and get you some examples to make our point a little bit clear. Now, tadpole and an adult frog, right? Are they a part of the same life cycle? Yes, right? Tadpole पहले आएगा, उसके बाद it will undergo metamorphosis to form an adult frog. A tadpole is purely aquatic and herbivorous. But when it metamorphoses into an adult frog, it becomes an amphibian and becomes carnivorous. Now, is it changing its role in the environment? है क्या नहीं? So now what I'll say is इसने अपना niche change किया. मतलब एक ही life cycle में organism from one niche has moved to the other niche. From a herbivorous organism, it has become carnivorous. One more example. an organism by the name of water bug and a water boatman. Now, both are found on the shallow edge of a pond. मतलब दोनों का habitat same है, right? दोनों का area of staying same है. लेकिन एक predator एक scavenger है. इसका मतलब उस पर्टिक्यूलर हैबिटेट में, उस पर्टिक्यूलर एरिया में दोनों का रोल अलग अलग हो गया, राइट ना? मतलब वाटर बग का नीश अलग है, वाटर बोटमैन का नीश अलग है. See, I hope I'm trying to make my point a little clear through these examples. ये NCERT में डिस्कशन नहीं, ये मैं एक्सप्लेन करने के लिए बता रहा हूं. You can, pause the video, make a note if you want to. Take one more example. थोड़ा और क्लैरिटी आएगा. Now, an owl is an aerial organism. उसका habitat अलग है. Cat is terrestrial. दोनों का habitat अलग हो गया. एक aerial habitat है, एक terrestrial habitat है. But दोनों के जो prey है वो same है. The owl also hunts for shrews and mice. The cat also hunts for shrews and mice. मतलब aerial habitat में owl is hunting, terrestrial habitat में cat is hunting for the same. तो owl का aerial habitat में ये niche है, रोल, लेकिन कैट का टेरेस्ट्रियल में ये नीश है. मतलब दोनों अपने अपने अलग अलग नीश में रोल सेम ही परफॉर्म कर रहे हैं विद रिस्पेक्ट टू दिस. इसका मतलब अपने अपने, सो आई कैन कॉल आउल एंड अ कैट एज इकोलॉजिकल इक्विवेलेंट. मतलब वो अपने हैबिटेट में और ये अपने हैबिटेट में, दोनों अपने अपने हैबिटेट में सेम फंक्शन परफॉर्म कर रहा है. इसलिए वी कॉल देम एज इकोलॉजिकल इक्विवेलेंस, राइट? एक और एग्जांपल देता हूं, राइट ना? फॉर एग्जांपल देखो, वी आर इन माइंडसेटर्स. माइंडसेटर्स अपना एक इकोसिस्टम है, राइट? लेट्स से अपने जहां क्लासेस है, अपना ट्यूशन चल रहा है, वहां पे बाजू में क्लासेस है. क्लासेस में एक अलग इकोसिस्टम चल रहा है, अलग हैबिटेट है. हमारा हैबिटेट अलग, उनका हैबिटेट अलग. अब यहाँ पर लेट्स आई एम टीचिंग बायोलॉजी, आई एम अ बायोलॉजी टीचर फॉर यू. वहां पे कोई और बायोलॉजी टीचर पढ़ा रहा है, राइट ना? सो अपने हैबिटेट में मैं फंक्शन परफॉर्म कर रहा हूं बायोलॉजी पढ़ाने का. दूसरा टीचर अपने हैबिटेट में वही बायोलॉजी पढ़ा रहा है. मतलब हम लोग इकोलॉजिकल इक्विवेलेंट्स हो गए. If I have to draw an analogy like this, right now. So I hope this idea of niche is a little clear to you. Habitat will support a number of species. मतलब एक habitat में you can have number of species, right now. A habitat can also have a number of ecological niche क्योंकि every species will have a separate niche. So every species will occupy a specific position in the habitat. So can a niche support only a single species? Yes. But a habitat can support a number of niches. See, I know you're getting a little, caught up between habitat niche. And what I've done for you is I've got this differentiation, right? You can pause the video, Aram, say, copy this differentiation, right? So habitat is a specific place or a locality where a community residing, but niche is a component of the habitat, which is delimited with the functioning of the organism. Habitat can have number of niches, but a niche does not have any components. Habitat can support a number of species, but a niche will support only a single species. Right now, within a habitat, you can have a lot of environmental variables. Microclimate अलग-अलग हो सकता है, but niche has a specific set क्योंकि वो एक ही species को support कर रहा है. तो जो उसके लिए होगा वो ही specific set of environmental regimes होगा. Species does not change its habitat, but a species may live in more than one niche in different stages of its life cycle. I gave you the example of frog and the tadpole, right now. So I think वो जो 3-4 लाइन का डिस्क्रिप्शन वहां पे दिया हुआ है in the NCERT, this discussion for us should be enough to understand what's a niche, right? Now we move to our major discussion, right now. Okay, what are the major abiotic factors and how are organisms facing these abiotic factors? Now, 4 abiotic factors we're going to talk about, right? Temperature, water, light, and soil. And 4 ways in which the organism responds to these abiotic factors. Now, temperature, most important, ecologically most important factor, right? Temperature का variation can come, right? Equator से poles तक, equator से ऊपर जाएंगे तो it starts on decreasing, right? It could be minus levels में in freezing area, polar areas में, high altitudes में, we'll go to tropical areas, we'll get 50 degrees से ज़्यादा temperature, right? You have thermal springs, hydrothermal vents where temperatures can go more than 100 degrees, right? If it goes more temperature high gaya, obviously it affects the enzymes. We have studied the effect of temperature on enzymes, remember na? So temperature is a very relevant environmental factor. Temperature very important. Now, there are organisms who can tolerate and thrive in a wide range of temperatures. Eurythermal mammals, right? Now, mammal can tolerate a wide range of, so they are called eurythermal in nature. इनको eurythermal बोलेंगे. But there are the vast majority restricted to a narrow range of temperature. They can stay only up, right? The polar bears, it can stay only in the polar areas. Right? There are some organisms, birds, animals, they can stay only in the tropical areas. उनको उठा के अगर पोलर में डाल दिया तो मर जाएंगे बेचारे, राइट ना? सो उसको स्टीनोथर्मल बोलते हैं हम लोग. So temperature के according organisms will be eurythermal and stenothermal, right? So जो thermal tolerance है species का, will it not decide कि उनका geographical distribution कैसे होगा? Right? Those who tolerate cold temperatures will be more in the polar areas. Those who tolerate high temperatures, they will be in the tropical areas. So geographical distribution उसके हिसाब से होगा. So first factor, temperature. Second is water. Obviously, water, life has originated in water. Life is unsustainable. Life cannot continue without water. Right? Water guard distribution is different in different parts of the earth. Availability is so limited in the desert that organisms need to have adaptations to make it possible. Right ना? वो camel वाले adaptations सारे तुम्हारे ध्यान में रहेंगे. Distribution of plants, productivity of plants, photosynthesis भी ना dependent on water है. Right? Right? ऐसा नहीं कि organisms living in water aquatic areas do not face problems. For them, the quality of water is important in terms of its chemical composition and pH. Like salt concentration, which is measured as salinity parts per thousand, is less than 5 in inland waters, 30 to 35 in the seas, and more than 100 parts per thousand in some hypersaline lagoons. So organisms can, vary in these areas. You have euryhaline organisms. Like how do we have eurythermal? They can tolerate wide range of salinities. Eurythermal क्या था? They can tolerate wide range of temperatures. और वहां पे स्टीनोथर्मल था, यहाँ पर स्टीनोहालाइन है. Organisms restricted to narrow range of salinities. Right? Remember discussion in Animalia? Right? ना? Exclusively marine. मतलब fresh water में मिलेगा ही नहीं. It cannot bear that decrease in salinity. It can be, marine also, fresh water also. They can bear, salinities का differentiation bear कर सकते वो लोग. So euryhaline and stenohaline. ठीक है? Are you clear about water? The third abiotic factor is light. Now, light important for both plants as well as animals. Plants obviously photosynthesis के लिए important है, right? So even herbs and shrubs, जो छोटे वाले होते हैं plants, they get covered by the larger plants. So light availability, becomes an issue. They cannot, they don't get complete light. Light block हो जाता है by the big trees. So what they do is in that small, low amount of light, they optimize their processes so that maximum photosynthesis होगा. Plants will require light for photoperiodism. पढ़ा है आप लोगों ने, right? We have the short day plants, long day plants, and day neutral plants. So light is a requirement for flowering. Now, why animals require light? Right? We have variations in light with respect to day night? Diurnal का मतलब होता है day night variation. Do we have seasonal variation? Right now, the duration of the day and night becomes different as per seasons, right? So this variation in the intensity and duration of light for the animal, right, is important for their foraging, looking out for food, for their reproduction, for their migratory activities. So light is equally important for both plants as well as animals, right? Spectral quality of the solar radiation, why UV component is harmful to many organisms, right? So third factor that we have put under focus is light. The right now light may, as we just mentioned, UV component is harmful to many organisms. All the color components, हाँ ये एक point रह गया था मेरे, बराबर, I just missed that point. All color components of visible spectrum, you know, is from V to R, right now. I hope WebGyor में V to R, visible spectrum में, are not available for marine plants living at different depths in the oceans, right now. Have we studied the red algae, green algae, blue algae? उसमें से red algae, the pigment is phycoerythrin. It is able to absorb blue light. The blue light from this visible spectrum is penetrating the deep waters, and hence the red algae with the phycoerythrin can live in deeper waters. Right now, one diagram I just want to give you. You please copy that diagram. Sometimes it comes in the exam as to with respect to availability of light, what are the different areas, right now. So we have terrestrial plants, obviously sunlight to direct आएगा यहाँ पे. थोड़े plants water में है but they are emerging out, right? You have some floating plants and submerged plants, right? So जहां तक plants की availability है on the benthoic zone, right now, that is called as the littoral zone. राइट, जहां पर प्लांट्स बिल्कुल भी नहीं है, इट्स कॉल्ड एज लिम्नेटिक जोन. ये ओपन वाटर जोन है ना. ओपन वाटर जोन में भी कैन यू सी दिस यूफोटिक जोन, मतलब यहां तक लाइट पेनिट्रेट कर सकता है. द लाइट कैन पेनिट्रेट अप टू हियर. सो तुम्हारे ग्रीन, ब्लू, रेड, राइट ना, तो रेड तुमको यहां मिलेगा जहां तक लाइट मैक्सिमम पेनिट्रेट हो सकता है. Beyond this, you will not have any kind of photosynthesis occurring, right? So please make sure to copy this diagram, right? The fourth and the last abiotic factor is the soil. Right now, soil का जो discussion NCERT में paragraph दिया हुआ है, quite confusing way में वहाँ पे दिया हुआ है. I've just tried to make it a little simple for you. वहाँ पे they have given 10 points total. I've just segregated this 10 points for you all. The nature and property of soil depends on these factors. The percolation, how water goes down the soil, and water holding capacity depends on these factors. And the vegetation in an area depends on these factors. pH of the soil, what is the mineral composition of soil, what is the topography, geography, right now, of the area and soil. So ये जो 10 फैक्टर्स है उसको इस तरह आप लर्न करेंगे तो यू रिमेंबर, राइट ना. दिस इज प्योरली फैक्चुअल एक्सप्लेनेशन, फैक्चुअल डेटा टू बी कंज्यूम्ड बाय अस, राइट. सो 4 factors we have seen, 4 abiotic factors, right? We started with temperature, most important, फिर water, light and soil. Now, how do organisms cope up? How do they respond to these abiotic factors? Again, I told you by 4 ways. Either the organism regulates the processes to face the environmental condition, or it conforms, or it migrates, or it suspends, right? Let's have a look at these 4 responses from the organism, right, one by one. Some organisms, they are able to maintain homeostasis, right now, constant body temperature, constant osmotic concentration. Birds and mammals ये category में सबसे ऊपर है, right? They are able to regulate their body processes, right? Plants do not have any such mechanisms to maintain these kind of homeostatic mechanisms, right? Now, so regulation, they regulate, right? But majority of them, 99% of them, of animals obviously, and nearly all the plants, they cannot maintain, as I mentioned earlier, their temperature changes with the surrounding temperature, right? Whatever the temperature outside, the body temperature changes to that. Aquatic animals में osmotic concentration of body fluids changes with that of the ambient surrounding water में क्या osmosis वो change हो जाएगा. So they are simply called as conformers. Conformers मतलब they agree to what the surrounding is telling them. So if surrounding is 20 degrees, उनका body का 20 degrees हो जाएगा. Surrounding 50 हो जाएगा, उनका body 50 हो जाएगा. Getting that? So you call such organisms as conformers. देखो regulators ऐसे नहीं होते. Regulators surrounding कुछ भी हो, उनका body processes will remain constant. The reason being, for example, temperature. Thermoregulation is energetically expensive. Not all organisms can afford this process of thermoregulation, right? See, we can do thermoregulation, right? अगर बाहर टेम्परेचर 50 है तो भी मेरे बॉडी का टेम्परेचर 37 रहेगा. बाहर 5 डिग्री है तो भी मेरे बॉडी का टेम्परेचर भी 37 ओनली. That means my body inside is having a mechanism whereby either it generates heat to keep up the temperature or it releases heat to lower down the temperature, right? So but that is an energetically expensive process. It is not you cannot a lot of organisms cannot afford this process. Small animals like shrews, hummingbirds, no, they cannot afford. Now heat loss or heat gain is a function of surface area. Since small animals, they have a larger surface area relative to their volume. Please don't go by their size. कि वो animal छोटा है तो surface area छोटा होगा. नहीं. Surface area with respect to the volume of the body. Right? So when you have a surface area upon volume, तो denominator छोटा है तो value जो है बढ़ जाती है. They tend to lose their body heat very fast when it is cold outside. And they have to spend a lot of energy to generate body heat through metabolism. So small animals are very rarely found in polar regions because they cannot afford this kind of a process of so much of heat generation in the body, right? So this is conforming. Some species, on the other hand, they have evolved the ability to regulate, but only over a limited range, beyond which they start conforming, right? See, देखो ये रेड लाइन क्या दिख रहा है, रेगुलेटर लाइन है. एक्सटर्नल टेम्परेचर, एक्सटर्नल लेवल्स, ये इंटरनल है, राइट? टेम्परेचर कंसीडर करेंगे तो टेम्परेचर ये पॉइंट पे, बॉडी का इंटरनल सेम. थोड़ा टेम्परेचर बढ़ा हो, बॉडी सेम. कीप ऑन इंक्रीजिंग, कैन यू सी द रेड लाइन रिमेनिंग कांस्टेंट, isn't it? So this is a regulator. Whereas a conformer, at every change in the external conditions, do you find that the conformer keeps on changing its value now, right? So conformers, regulators and partial regulators कुछ हद तक regulate करेंगे, उसके बाद उनका capacity खत्म, they start conforming. So first response is either you regulate, right? Second is you conform. The third response is migration. How do you migrate? If regulation and conform is not a possibility, the organism will move away from that stressful habitat to a more hospitable area. Obviously, the migratory birds in the Bharatpur National Park in Rajasthan, of late you've seen those pink flamingos coming in the mudflat regions, right? At Vashi bridge ke paas, right? A lot of WhatsApp images also were going around that finally these birds have come back because the pollution levels have gone down, right? Now, so these migratory birds, they come from other uncomfortable, stressful habitat areas to comfortable ones. That's so migration. And the last response, अगर कुछ भी नहीं हो सकता है, ना regulate कर सकता है, ना confirm कर सकता है, ना migrate कर सकता है, let काम करो, suspend. Now this suspension is seen in different categories of organisms. In lower organisms like bacteria, fungi, lower plants, they will form thick walled spores. Condition unfavorable है, you form a thick walled around the spore. जब condition अच्छा होगा, wall खुलेगा, germinate करेंगे. In higher plants, we have seeds, other vegetative reproductive structures. Right now, they germinate to form plants only under favorable moisture. Plant growth पढ़ा है तुमने. You know what is dormancy. जब तक suitable condition नहीं आएगा, the seed will not develop, not germinate. तब तक क्या करेगा? Suspended रहेगा. It's suspended state of growth. Do we see this in animals? Yeah. Animals में do we see bears going in hibernation? Yes. Snails and fish going in estivation to avoid heat and desiccation. Desiccation is drying up, lack of water. Zooplankton species in lakes, they are known to enter diapause, a stage of suspended development under unfavorable conditions. Right now, so we have suspension in lower organisms, plants may, and in animals also. Right. So how do the organisms respond to these abiotic factors? Either it regulates, or it confirms, or it migrates, or it suspends their processes. Right. Now to wind up the entire discussion, right? Abiotic factors पढ़ लिया हमने, how are they responding पढ़ लिया, but what do they do in the end to make their survival and reproduction? याद है कि नहीं? वापस आ गया, देखो वापस. They develop adaptations. Organism will develop adaptation. The adaptation can be morphological, structure wise adaptation होगा, physiological, function में change आएगा, या behavioral, so that उस habitat में organism is able to survive and reproduce. Right? So adaptations have evolved over long evolutionary, millions and millions of years, and they are genetically fixed. They passed on in generations now. Some examples for morphological adaptations. Desert plants will have thick cuticle on the leaf surface. Right? Leaf का structure पढ़ा है हमने. Stomata are pushed into the lower layers. उससे क्या होगा? The water loss will be minimized through transpiration. So this is a structural morphological adaptation. Opuntia, right now, leaves are reduced to spine. Again, water loss बचाने के लिए. And the green photosynthetic function is taken over by the stem. Right now, what do we call that? It's a phylloclad. The same Opuntia, do we find it opting for a CAM pathway for photosynthesis? So यहाँ पे it becomes a physiological adaptation. Mind you, please, हाँ? Leaf का spine बनना, thick cuticle होना, it is a morphological adaptation. But using a special pathway for photosynthesis, ये physiological adaptation हो जाएगा. In the polar seas, aquatic mammals like seals, right now, the temperature are quite low. So what do they have below their skin? A thick layer of fat, which is called blubber. देखो, I've just got a small diagram for you. Image है. Can you see this? ये ऊपर dermis, epidermis, right now, उसके नीचे can you see this thick yellow, light yellow layer दिख रहा है तुम लोगों को? That is a blubber. Can you see? इतना thick layer है blubber का. वो क्या कर रहा है? For insulation, to protect them against temperature. यहाँ से heat, it should not escape outside, so the temperature remains proper. Right? They're mentioning one rule here. Mammals from colder climates generally have shorter ears and limbs to minimize heat loss. थोड़ा surface area कम हो जाएगा, right? That's called Allen's rule. Physiological adaptations में we have a kangaroo rat. It's in North American deserts, right? Internal fat oxidation में where water is a byproduct, उसके पूरे body के water requirement. Desert में ना, it is तो जितने body के water requirements, it's able to fulfill that. It also has the ability to concentrate its urine so that minimal volume of water is used to remove excretory products. Maybe a longer loop of Henle with respect to its nephron. Right? So this becomes a physiological adaptation. Microbes flourishing in temperatures exceeding 100 degrees है, वो 1000 नहीं है बाबा, 100 degrees है. Okay, hydrothermal vents में how can they survive? We've learned the cell wall of archaeobacteria. याद होगा अपना discussion peptidoglycans वाला wall वाला. Okay, there are some enzymes which also help them to survive this temperature. Fishes thriving in Antarctic waters, in the with temperatures below zero, they've got antifreeze proteins जो enzymes की तरह काम करते हैं. Organisms surviving at great depths in the ocean where the pressure is more than more than 100 times the normal. How do they bear this kind of pressure? Again, with the help of certain enzymes which help them to survive these pressures. So all these are physiological adaptations. Now, they've also given one example of altitude sickness as a physiological adaptation. At low atmospheric pressure at high altitudes, right? Now, high altitudes, the pressures are quite, the oxygen pressures are very low. So, you start having nausea, feeling of vomiting, you get tired very fast, it's fatigue, heart palpitations. Now, this is called as altitude sickness. But this is only for a small period of time. After 1-2 days, you get used to that situation, you stop experiencing this sickness, these symptoms. Why? Because your body has adapted and showed certain changes to face these conditions. Right? What has the body done? Increased RBC. So 5.5 million से वो 6 million, 6.5 हो जाएगा. Right? क्योंकि oxygen availability कम है तो RBC बढ़ा दिया. So more number of RBC can actually increase the oxygen amount, decreasing the binding affinity of hemoglobin. Right? Hemoglobin oxygen को जल्दी छोड़ दे. Increasing the breathing rate. Right? ना जो breathing rate normally 16 to 20 है, respiratory rate starts becoming more. So start taking in more oxygen from the atmosphere. So all these are methods by which the body is compensating low oxygen availability, so that you stop suffering from these kind of symptoms. So it's again a physiological adaptation. Mind you, when you come back to sea level again from these high altitudes, right now ये सब वापस जो है वो normal पे आ जाएगा. Okay, so this is physiological. And lastly, we've got behavioral adaptations like desert lizards. Right? They do not have these physiological means to keep up with the temperatures. So what they do is they absorb heat when their body temperature drops below. So they move in the sun. And when the temperature goes very high, they move in the shade. So it's a behavioral method by which to keep their body temperature constant. Right now, some species can burrow in the soil to hide and escape from the heat. So again, that becomes a behavioral adaptation. Okay, so this is what the first part of the chapter was, right? So this is actually the first part of the chapter. Second part is population, and last are those interorganismic relationships. And with this, we have finished the entire chapter. If there are any doubts, you can please message me and or talk to me to clarify those doubts, right? Thank you all. Thank you so much.